are on lesson 74 with the Course in Miracles, the workbook lessons. And 74 is there is no will but God's. The idea for today can be regarded as the central thought towards which all our exercises are directed. God is the only will. When you have recognized this, you have recognized that your will is God's. The belief that conflict is possible has gone, and peace has replaced the strange idea that you are torn by conflicting goals. As an expression of the will of God, you have no goals but His. Gosh, that is really interesting because, some of us have come from science of mind or the law of attraction, and we think, well, I'm going to push my will into form, and we can all do that. But in A Course in Miracles, we're saying don't bother, just be at peace with the will of God and see if you can maintain that peace as the will of God continues to unfold and unfurl for you. So can you be at peace with the great mystery of God? The great will of God is sort of the underlying question of this exercise. It says there is great peace in today's idea, and the exercises for today are directed toward finding it. The idea itself is wholly true. Therefore, it cannot give rise to illusions. Without illusions, conflict is impossible. Let us try to recognize this today and experience the peace this recognition brings. So there's no will but the will of God. So why does that bring the peace? Because when we're wrestling, when we're struggling, when we're trying to navigate, when we're trying to push our will into form, or when we're saying this ain't it, this is not my will. I want a different guy, a different car, a different house, a different relationship, a different classroom, blah 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 blah. We're gonna find a lack of peace. But if we just say, this is the will of God, let's be at peace with it, boom, peace washes over. It goes on to say there's no will but God's. I cannot be in conflict. That's the affirmation. There's no will but God's. I cannot be in conflict. Why would I want to wrestle with God? Only if I didn't trust God. If I didn't trust God's love implicitly. God loves you impeccably. God loves you impeccably. So you can trust that whatever is happening right here and right now is for your highest and greatest good. Why? Because it's happening. So we do the affirmation, there's no will but God's, I cannot be in conflict, and then spend several minutes in adding some related thoughts such as, I'm at peace and nothing can disturb me. My will is God's. My will and God's are one. God wills peace for His son, for His daughter. During this introductory phase, be sure to deal quickly with any conflicting thoughts that may cross your mind and tell yourself immediately, there is no will but God's. These conflicting thoughts are meaningless. If there is one conflict area that seems particularly difficult to resolve, single it out for special consideration and think about it briefly but very specifically, identifying the particular person or persons and the situation or situations involved, and tell yourself, there's no will but God's, and I share it with God. And my conflicts about Janine cannot be real. That place where I said Janine, that's supposed to be a blank for where you want to add your own conflicting thoughts. And then it says, after you've cleared your mind in this way, close your eyes and try to experience the peace to which your reality entitles you. Sink into it and feel it close around you. There may be some temptation to mistake these attempts for withdrawal, but the difference is easily detected. If you are succeeding, you will find a deep sense of joy and an increased alertness rather than the feeling of drowsiness and enervation. Joy characterizes peace. By this experience will you recognize that you have reached it. If you feel yourself slipping into withdrawal, quickly repeat the idea for today and try again. There's no will but God's. Do this as often as necessary. There is definite gain in refusing to allow retreat into withdrawal, even if you do not experience the peace that you seek. In the shorter practice periods, which should be undertaken at regular predetermined intervals today, say to yourself, there is no will but God's. I seek His peace today. There is no will but God's. I seek His peace today. Seek and you shall find, right? Then try to find what you're seeking. A minute or two every half hour with eyes closed if possible would be well spent on this today. So the reason I put Janine in there is because my mother-in-law had a stroke, and she's really frustrated with the state of her body right now. And I think, well, gosh, how could this be God's will to have somebody in such frustration? But today I get to say, I get to hand that over to God and say, well, this is a call for love. We get to show up for her. She gets to be cared for by us and by the medical industry. And, being cared for by people can be very uncomfortable, but sometimes that's our greatest classroom. I know because when I told, some friends that this was going on for us, that we had to spend a lot of time at the hospital, my community rose up and started caring for me and making dinners for my family. And at first I was like, no, 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 I don't, I'm fine, I'm fine. And, and then I was like, that's me wrestling with God, because I don't want to be cared for. I want to care for everybody. This is a national epidemic, so not someone's knocking at your door to deliver you something. Don't fight them. Just be open to receive and say, thank you, this will bless me. Thank you, this will bless me. Good news or bad news. So the stroke, thank you, this will bless me. The home-cooked meal, thank you, this will bless me. And as we continue to say that, we will continue to align ourselves with the will of God, where all is well, and where peace is the sure and perfect outcome. So I hope this lesson was helpful for you today. And it says to practice it as often as you can to ingrain it into your experience. And use your classrooms. Like you see, I use my personal classroom, because that's where your true lessons are. That's where the lesson can become applicable, as opposed to just pretty words that we read every day. We want to apply them to a space that feels like it's in conflict, so that we can own it. If you're able to actually use the lesson, you're going to be better off owning it. It's like the difference between watching somebody bake a cake and use all those utensils and tools that it takes to bake a cake, and you literally getting your hands in there and moving the dough around. If you experience it and if you apply it, you own it. And so that's what the lesson's asking us to do today. All right, thank you so much for being with me. Give us a like. Share it with your friends, embody it, practice it, and own the fact that God is for you, God delights in you, and God loves you. God bless. Namaste. Bye.